response, so I will sing a line and then you can follow along. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanyanchari Yamuna Tira Vanyachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Shriram Sankirtan ki jai. So what do you say? We keep saying at the end, Shriram Sankirtan ki jai. So what does that mean? Of course, yeah, we won't. It's not a quiz, it's not a pop quiz. So we just yes. Oh, Prabhuji, yes.
Well, anybody singing Hare Krishna dancing on the street, that is Harinama Sankirtan.
So we're chanting the holy name of the Lord in unison, or in a congregational, getting together and chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is called out as the prime method of God realization in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Too many words used. But you see, like, we all, and all this is sort of connected with the topic for today. So we all are looking for peace and happiness. No?
Yes.
Kind of, yeah, we are. So peace and happiness is to be found where? Where would you find peace and happiness?
Not here.
Where it is in abundance.
Yeah, where it is in abundance. Okay. So it's not possible to attain peace and happiness in this earthly realm? It is or not?
Yes.
No, it's not. Well, yeah, it depends on,
I mean, yes and
yeah, yes and no, yes. It depends on how we are looking at things, how we are looking at these things like peace and happiness. What are we looking for? If you're looking for like suspended animation or being in a state of, like absolutely no activity, in a state of very numbness, that sort of thing, yeah, you see people in coma, they are absolutely peaceful. But is that the kind of peace that we are looking for? No, not really. We want to be peaceful, but we want to be also animate without being morose, without being comatose. How is that possible in this realm? It is possible if we get connected to that source of peace, that source of happiness. And it is still possible to, I will argue, that it is still possible to be peaceful and happy here if we are connected to the source of all the happiness and peace, which is the Lord Himself. And what we are doing, this chanting of the holy name, is a hotline. We are connecting with the Lord through the medium of His holy name. There is a philosophy behind it, which is spoken about in this great conversation, this great text. Does everyone recognize this? Bhagavad Gita, as it is. We have many copies of it. Please take one home today if you want. Srimad Bhagavatam. Have some of you at least heard of Srimad Bhagavatam? Yeah, it's called the condensed, it's called the cream or the essence of all Vedic scriptures. Galitam phalam. It's called like the fruit, ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge, what is Vedic knowledge all about? At least, yes, some people can answer that maybe. What is Vedic knowledge? When we talk about Vedas, okay, just for someone who is not familiar with Vedas, Vedas means the books, the original books of knowledge. Okay, and when we say knowledge, they literally encompass every time and grass and everything that's in this creation. Knowledge about everything. So that is the Vedas. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the condensed essence of the Vedas. Because the purpose of Vedas is not just to live a very comfortable life in this realm. The purpose of Vedas is something much more than that, but the Vedas are excruciatingly vast for people who are born in this age and with our kind of comprehension, our kind of attention span. Again, all this is related to the topic. It's very difficult. Hence, we have been given the window to Vedic knowledge, or this primer in Vedic knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita. And the Lord Krishna is, in his conversation, he mentions this, that the purpose of Vedas in 15:15, Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 15th verse, he mentions that he is the one from whom come knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness, and the purpose of Vedas, knowledge, the end of all Vedas is to know him. So that is the point of, so how did we get here? Vedic scriptures. Okay, so we were talking about Srimad Bhagavatam, the condensed essence. Srimad Bhagavatam has, it strongly it strongly recommends that we engage in Harinam Sankirtan, in hearing and chanting the Lord's names. So anyways, a little, little bit of a digression there. So coming back to flickering focus and absorption. What is it about focus that you encounter on a day-to-day basis? And I know, like, we have students here, we have retired individuals, we have current professionals. What is just a few things about focus that come to your mind, maybe from your experience in your daily lives? Just throw a few things. It's you know that there is, in this case, there is no right or wrong answer.
Difficult to focus
Oh, so difficult to focus. Okay.
on important things.
On important things, yeah. So it's difficult to focus on important things. Okay. What, as opposed to that, what would you rather prefer? Rather than, so the topic is flickering focus. I'm sorry, I have no slides to show you, so yeah, it's like the wallpaper showing up there. But again, like the topic is from flickering focus to unwavering absorption. Okay, since the topic is not there, maybe you can, it's probably hard to say, okay, what am I expecting from it? But what would you rather hope for if it was not for this, difficult to focus? What would really make things easy for you? Yes.
Well, most people are very easily focused on anger, but I don't know how valuable that is.
Okay, focused on anger.
Yeah, well, they lose control of the situation and now they're angry.
Okay. That sounds like me.
Sounds like high school basketball coaches. But
I've never been one. Okay. All right. So okay, we are getting close to that. Okay. So, but still, how do you really get anything done? Researchers here, you've got to spend hours trying to figure out, trying to make connections. Right? You read 100 papers, and out of that, maybe 50 are worth even considering. Then you filter it down to 20 that are, that have something that interests, that really comes close to your area. So how do you do all these things? I understand that you have the medal for it, but what kind of challenges do you face in doing such work?
motivation.
Yes, motivation, okay.
So without the internet, it's almost impossible because our lifetime is so short. There's so much Vedic knowledge. You have to cherry pick. Otherwise, it's really hard to focus. So you following other people's research, kind of that have done similar lines of research, it allows you at least to start honing in on areas you want to kind of look at.
Yeah.
But it is not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy for sure, and of course for those of us who are in jobs which require which require you to spend hours trying to see the dotted line, being able to connect, get the straight line. It's difficult, it's hard. So how do you? Okay, so moving to a different point, and you know what? Now that we are getting into it, let me just quickly say a little prayer so that our conversation goes meaningfully. Okay, so we will say it's an invocation prayer. Many of you probably are not aware, that's fine. So this is a prayer to our disciplic succession, our parampara, or our line of preceptors, spiritual preceptors, from whom we derive inspiration and from whom we derive the blessing to be able to help others, through sharing the knowledge that we have received from them. So all this knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, it's not just falling from the sky, right? It is being transmitted to us via medium, via some very elevated, pure souls who have made that effort to assimilate the knowledge and pass it as is. So we'll say that prayer. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswat Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. Yeah. So the prayer goes like Om Jnanatimirandasya. So we are, it's sentences. So Vedas, they're very like sometimes very direct. So very directly says that you're born in an hour of darkness. Om Ajnanatimirandasya. So Ajnan means ignorance. Timirandasya means darkness. So darkness of ignorance. So when we are born, what are some of the first things that happen? What is our sense? What is our consciousness about?
Open your eyes.
So you open your eyes and you're like the baby is crying. Baby is confused. What's going on? Needs food.
It's cold.
Cold. There is everything that the baby, the infant is experiencing has to do with its immediate body. Okay. There is nothing that the baby at that point is aware of beyond its physical body. So that is why we say that when we are born without a clue of what's going on. But as we grow, things become, questions come to our mind, and questions about existence. Well, at least for some of us who are here, I would say, for all the people who are here, that's a question. So we look out for meaning and purpose in life, and that's when we hopefully come across someone or some source of knowledge that can give us insight, that can give us perspective into why are we even here. So that knowledge is coming from our spiritual preceptors. We can say gurus, we can say teachers. Spiritual masters is another expression that you would hear. So we are indebted to them and we pray to them so that we can transmit a bit of that knowledge that they have given us meaningfully to whoever we are sharing with, not just say nonsense. Okay, so now coming back to focus. So I will tell you that I'm in my 40s and I have always, till date, struggled with focus. Things just take very long for me to get done. Okay, but what would I expect? What would I ideally want? To be able to seamlessly just breeze through every work that I'm doing, every assignment that I touch. I don't do assignments anymore. Well, yeah, I do actually. We still take courses, Bhakti Shastra and all here. So any report that I have to produce at work, I would just like to presentation decks. Man, those are nightmares for me. So I just want to breeze through them, but just keeps happening that I just don't know how to do this. Let me take a little break. This happens, and I'm trying to focus, but it's just not coming. But then on the other hand, all of you would have experienced this. You have some engagements which when you get into, you're just in the zone. You just cannot get yourself off it. Is that familiar, or is that still sounding way out there?
No, that's good.
Okay, still with me, yeah. So what would you rather expect, rather hope for in every activity that you perform?
Being completely immersed in that.
Yeah, immersed in that. Yeah, you want to be absorbed. That's what absorption. But how easy is that to do? So how many of us really love what we do? let's keep it for the sake of ease, simplicity, what we do for a living. Okay? Yeah? Absolutely. If you're doing a PhD, you better love what you're doing. Otherwise, it'll be miserable. Right? So when you're doing a research, would you say, and feel free to nuance your response. Would you say you feel like absorbed in your research? Like, hours go by and you just don't move from your place. Or maybe even if you move, you still feel like, you're just like, this is the thing, this is absolutely the thing that you want to do in life. Sometimes we feel, sometimes, right? Yeah, sometimes. Any other, Hare Krishna. Anyone else would like to share anything about their experience with focus and absorption?
I know in Nectar of Devotion, Sri Prabhupada mentions this cycle of enjoyment and austerity, Bhoga Tyaga, living for the weekend. But then at the end of the weekend, you're not exactly, let's go back to work.
Living for the weekend, right?
At least in the West.
It's very interesting that you bring that up because I did have something about vacation. Why do we take vacations?
Bhoga Tyaga.
We take vacations not just because we want to see new places or take a break. Yeah, we want to take a break, but it's because nothing that we are doing is satisfying us to that extent. Feel free to refute me. I'm totally open for that. There is nothing that we do in this world, absolutely nothing that can keep us absorbed for hours and hours, for like eternity. Hey, it's hyperbole, I know. I'm saying it's a hyperbole. Hare Krishna. Yeah, it's a hyperbole to say eternity. Who knows what eternity is? But nevertheless, you get the idea that we are, like, there are things which I love to do and which I can do for hours on without winking. Well, maybe winking, but I can just go on doing for hours. But then there are things which I just cannot, not more than 30 minutes. I need a break. 30 minutes, I need a break. So, severe case of ADHD, you can say. So the vacations are one of the reasons why we want to break from the routine of life, right? Because however much we may be absorbed, if you think about it, say for someone like, as accomplished as Professor Albert Einstein, he was that absorbed in his work. But the point is that even if we want to be that way, our environment is such that something just comes and thwarts your immersedness in what you're doing, and then you just have to go back to maybe sometimes against your will. You just got to pivot or do something different. So that's a reality. Like, it's very hard to be absorbed, but it's interesting that Bhagavad Gita, and now coming to that aspect of the topic, that what is it about Bhagavad Gita? So let's just take some quick thoughts about Bhagavad Gita. How many of you are have derived some inspiration from Bhagavad Gita? Okay, just a few things that you appreciate about Bhagavad Gita or have imbibed.
Where you came from before you were born, where you're going to go when you die, and what you're going to do in the middle there. It's pretty much that.
Okay.
It answers all those questions that just pull at the back of your mind that you're asking,
Okay, existential.
Yeah.
Existential. Anything else?
Purpose of life.
Yeah.
Purpose of life. Okay, existential.
Time, karma, material manifestation,
Yeah.
and a living entity.
Yeah. The living entity. So these are
And God.
and God. So these are the topics which Krishna covers. So everyone familiar with Lord Krishna? Yes.
I want to share one of my
Yeah.
experience, so my throat may not be with me today.
Oh, okay. Do you want a microphone? That microphone?
So I just recently
It's too far. Yeah.
had two experiences. One was good experience and one was bad experience.
Mhm.
When I had bad experience, I was pretty upset. my situation is different because I am not now bound by things that generally most families, most people that they have to take care of this or that. I am that way, I am free soul. So when I realized that, immediately it gave me something that, some kind of, that kind of peace or solace that, I have read Gita so many times and I know all this, and still I was affected by these concepts so immediately, So that kind of experience that Gita, Shri Krishna, is telling, and we go through all these experiences every day in our lives. So if we just sit down sometimes and think about it.
No, thank you for sharing that. So it is indeed the case that Bhagavad Gita, the plot of Bhagavad Gita, we'll actually, just do maybe 10-minute summary of Bhagavad Gita. And the purpose of doing that is, it goes with the topic. So external circumstances you mentioned affecting you affects all of us, and it is not unusual, or there is nothing to be to feel bad about, to be affected by external circumstances, because that is the conditioning that we have had for lifetimes. We have been in that frame of mind where we are constantly reacting to the environment, to the immediate environment. But Bhagavad Gita actually is that conversation where Krishna and Arjuna, they are conversing. It's a very beautiful conversation. It's not just a textbook. It's not just a textbook. You look at it as a conversation, and the conversation, it begins in a very stark setting. So we are talking about not being able to focus, about it's so hard to remain absorbed for long. And this is happening at the onset of a great battle. And anyone who knows about the battle of Mahabharata will immediately reminisce that how deadly that battle was. A battle is a place where death is imminent. If not a guarantee, the threat of dying is very real, right? And no stress can be greater than that. To add to it, this is a battle that is going to happen between a family. It's almost like a civil war. It is a civil war, you can say. And one of the protagonists of this Bhagavad Gita is a gentleman called Arjuna, who is very, very eager to go and check out who has come to fight them. And he tells Krishna, take me to the center of the battlefield so that I can check out who are there standing, who are the people that I have to fight against. And when he sees them in Krishna, he takes him there. When he sees all of the people lined up there, he's lost. He's completely beside himself with sorrow, despair. He sees all of those people who are his relatives, who have nurtured him in the past, or with whom he has some blood relations. They are standing on the other side, waiting to fight him, waiting to fight his side. And it's a battle. The battles in those days were not unlike the battles of today, where there can be years can go and no outcome come. The civilians are suffering. Those battles definitely had outcomes, and it was going to be a very ghastly battle. So he tells Krishna that I am not sure whether I should do this, because I feel that this is going to bring ruin to my community, to loads and loads, scores of people, scores of women will become widowed, children will become orphaned, and there's going to be so much anarchy all around. People are going to, women will be exploited. And he gives a slew of reasons why he should not fight. And he says, I don't even see any point in fighting this battle, because once I have, even if we were to win, we would have the blood of my relatives on our hands. And how can we enjoy what we get, the spoils of war? So Krishna is very quiet. He's hearing him through and through, and until the point when sometimes it happens. Have you spoken to your PhD advisors? They're not always the most cool people I know, but like if they're really if they are that courteous, they'll probably just let you talk, and at one point when you say, okay, I'm hitting a dead end, then they come and try to help you out. And that's what happens. At one point, Arjuna says that, forget it, I cannot do this. He puts down his bows and arrows, and he just tells Krishna that, tell me, I have no clue of what to do next. I am surrendered to you, now you tell me, my dear friend, what should I do? Well, he doesn't say my dear friend, he accepts him as his spiritual master or his preceptor, as his guru. So, and then Krishna starts taking him through the whole journey. So we are seeing flickering focus, and that flickering focus is not because of some internet, some YouTube video, or some Facebook post, or some X remarks being exchanged, but that is because this person is now going to have to fight against his own relatives. So that is his distraction, that is his source of lack of focus, flickering focus. But Krishna does not want him, and Krishna is going to have this conversation with him not for the purpose of just giving him a pep talk or making him engage in violence unnecessarily. Krishna's plan is of course much bigger than we can imagine. So he wants to establish order, dharma. We call it dharma on that planet because there are just a proliferation of so many unwanted people on this planet who are exploiting the resources of the planet, who are exploiting the people. So he wants to check that. So this is his plan. The Battle of Mahabharata is not just a fratricidal war. It is not a war of, this group took away our property, we got to get it back. That's on the fringes. The bigger point is Krishna is wanting to establish order. So he tells him that, okay, you have these concerns that you're going to incur sin by killing your relatives. You feel bad that you have to do it because they have nurtured you. But think about it. Who are you? Do you even have a clue of that? So he says that, so Arjuna is like, oh, what's that? He says, well, you are eternal. You are a spirit soul. This body is anyways temporary. So what do you have to fear? If you are that way, these other people whom you are thinking you are to kill, they are the same. They are also eternal spirit souls. And as you know, the soul doesn't die. It cannot be affected by arms. It cannot be burnt. It cannot be withered by the wind. So what are you worried about? So that's concern one, taken care. So you're not going to really kill anyone. But on the other hand, you have a duty. So all of us have duties. Anyone who doesn't have any duty in this world, or you may think that I'm retired, but nevertheless, you still have some duties, right? We still have duties. So Arjuna, he's an archer. He's a military man. As Prabhupada says, he's a military man. So what are the military people supposed to do? They're supposed to defend, right? So he's supposed to defend, and he's supposed to defend people like an ideal Kshatriya or an ideal military person is supposed to, their dharma is to pick up arms if required to protect dharma, to protect those who are being exploited. So that is your dharma. You need to perform that. Everyone has prescribed duties, and if you don't perform it, you're going to anyways, you think that today you're going to leave this battlefield, go into the forest. No one is going to give a damn about you going to the forest. You are going to make a mockery of yourself, and you're not going to be able to do what you're meant to do. So he tells him that you need to know better. So you need to get up and use your intelligence and do the rightful thing. So Arjuna is like, okay, you're asking me to use my intelligence and you're asking me to work. Okay, I mean, you're asking me to use my better intelligence, but just think about it. this battle is going to be like destructive, who is going to benefit from this anyway? So Krishna says that, well, you think that this battle is your own personal war, is your own personal battle. You are like settling scores with your cousins. Well, it's not. It's everyone in this world, everyone in this creation has to do some work that's meant for them. But who do you need to do that work for? And he goes forward and he says that work needs to be done for the Supreme. In that consciousness. He says that even I am doing work. And you would think that, okay, that's a little confusing. If Krishna is indeed God, so why is he working? Why would God need to work? And he says that's because if I don't work, the entire population is going to just follow my example. So I am also working. So do this as a service to the Supreme. And then he says, do it for Vishnu. And then he anticipates this question as the conversation goes. Krishna anticipates that Arjuna will ask, but why should I sacrifice? Why should I perform this kind of a sacrifice? Fight this ghastly war for Vishnu. What is my relationship? And then Krishna tells him that this is a science. This is a science of self-realization, or a science of what we are and what is our relationship with the Supreme. And he says how he had described this whole science to the sun god millions of years ago. And he goes on to explain that this knowledge of my relationship with you is very, very confidential. This is the relationship which I have with each and every living entity, even like that amoeba that we can't see with our bare eyes. That also is a living entity. It has a body that is the result of, you can say, past desires and karma, but nevertheless, that is also a living entity, and I have a relationship with everyone. One who can understand that Krishna says, my activities, the things that I do here, even on this planet, they are not just mundane. Like what do? We get up early, we get up in the morning, we'll have our cup of coffee or chicory, as devotees would go. Yeah, and then we go about, like, we read something, we get together with our family, have breakfast, go to work. Krishna apparently does many of these things when he's on this planet, but he says that these are not ordinary. And you would see, like, the month of Kartik has begun, right? So that picture right there on that corner, that is the kind of work that Krishna is doing, for which sages and demigods and like so many devotees, they are just like dying to remember that pastime. They want to remember that pastime over and over again. There have been so many beautiful verses, bhajans, written in description of a simple pastime like that. It looks like, like we spank our kids every now and then, and our neighbor doesn't doesn't care about that at all. But the entire creation, they have, like, you've written there is so much literature about it that people are glorifying it. So that is the thing, that my activities are not ordinary. So he begins to he begins to introduce his identity, who he actually is, without saying that Arjuna, he could always have said that, like, your flickering focus, you're doing this, you just know that I am God, I am your boss, just shut up and do what I'm saying. But he doesn't say that, because this is the state. Arjuna is a very, very elevated representation of ourselves, a very elevated representation of ourselves. We are going through our lives without thinking, what is next? What are we getting to? Where do we want to be? We are only thinking in terms of me, my children, my countrymen, maybe, let me just plan for the next 5 years, 401k. We're just thinking everything that we are thinking about is restricted to the next few years in this life. Who knows how many? Who knows what that X stands for, right? So that is where we are. And we are having this problem of constantly, of wanting to be happy, of wanting to be, like constantly looking for an object of absorption. But we don't find that here. We are always shifting from one thing to other because that is the nature of this world. Nothing in this world persists. Happiness, sorrow, I would say, as Krishna is saying, that this is a place where we'll see sorrow a little bit, a lot more than happiness in many cases. So he says, "Dukhalaya nashashvatam." So that is what he's trying to help us move from that state of unsteadiness to a point where we can be constantly absorbed without having to go and live on the mountains, without having to go and live in the forest. Making changes to our life, but not just, donning saffron. Those of us who are from India, we know what we say, what we mean by saffron is, so to speak, it looks like it's, being a renunciate, a sannyasi, or someone who has nothing to do with worldly life. But that's not what he's trying to get us to, because at the end so as the conversation progresses, Arjuna has other questions. He says that, okay, you know what, now you're saying that I need to have that knowledge, work in devotion. So can you just, be a little clear about this? What is it that, you said renounce fruitive work and then, but work in devotion. You got to tell me that which is better. So Krishna is very clear about it. He says, renunciation is fine, okay? By renouncing, you don't really get you don't incur any kind of, reactions like, what do you call karma? You don't get that. But I prefer work in devotion. What would you prefer? What would each one of us prefer from the people whom we love, who are part of our life? Reciprocation, that they do something, at least treat us in a way that we feel some affection, show some love, they say. So that is what Krishna is trying to slowly bring to. So this book, it seems like repeatedly I say that this book is not just a textbook. It's a book, it's a conversation, it's a beautiful conversation. And we can see that there are chapters 1 to 18, but there is a continuation there. There are questions being brought up. So sometimes we think that you got to accept spiritual life as as it is given to you, or like you got to accept spiritual facts as they are given to you, no questioning. But Bhagavad Gita continuously, Arjuna is questioning Krishna until comes to a point where he says that, okay, now I have no more doubts, and that is where Krishna is slowly taking him. He goes further, says that yes, work and devotion is better, but there are many ways in which people are actually, attuned to looking for the source of creation. So he says that he introduces some philosophy, and you can. There is something called Sankhya Yoga, the purpose of which is to find who is the center of everything. The center of everything. So in this body, who is the center of the body? The soul. We are the center of the body. Okay, who is the center of this entire creation? There is someone at the center of creation. We don't want to get into that topic now, that intelligent design, Big Bang. This is not the forum for that. Like right now we don't want to discuss that. It will be a big digression. But the point is that there is someone or a power right behind everything. So Sankhya Yoga is meant to find that. And he says that it looks like that's an empirical way of, that's very fact-based, that's very data-based. But whoever understands Sankhya and whoever performs karma yoga, or like bhakti, who engages in devotion, they don't differentiate between these, because the goal of bhakti is also the same. The goal of bhakti is to be able to surrender to that person who is the center of everything. So it goes a little bit further. So that's how the conversation progresses. It's a beautiful conversation. Please take some time to go read it. There are so the way he Prabhupada expressed writes in his purports is it's like the quest is, okay, work is being done Okay, and I'm being told that I'm not really the doer. So who's actually doing work? Okay, there is nature. I can see nature. I have these hands, and I have feet, and I go to places, and I lift stuff. How is this happening? So Prabhupada explains the whole mechanics of it. That there is only one thing. If we look at ourselves, we'll see that we are never able to. We are seldom able to experience or see ourselves exactly in the way we want, every single time. So there's always something sometimes we want to do things and we just don't, get the right intelligence to do it, or we don't get the, we don't have that method to achieve that. So why does that happen? So that is the thing he's in this conversation, which is in chapter 5, is that how to find out who is the ultimate sanctioner of work. So everything that we are doing, that intelligence needs to come from somewhere. So you've come, I forget your name, sorry. Sheila. So Sheila has made it to this, to our program today, and her purpose was she's into religious studies, and she wanted to find out about Hare Krishnas. So how did she do that? If I to ask her, how did you find out about this?
I used the internet and found your webpage.
Yeah, internet, right? So how does that intelligence, where does it come from? We may say that, oh, you know what, like that's experience. I see someone else doing, I'm doing the same thing. How are we able to do that? There are people who are like searching, and they're not able to like search properly in the sense that they're not able to get the right result. But someone else doing similar searches or knowing how to use, what kind of prompts to use, they're able to get more accurate answers. So that intelligence is coming from the super soul sitting in the heart. Again, another term thrown there. So it's one manifestation of God. So there is a lot of there is a very deep understanding of what are the different ways in which God can be realized. But this is all revelation. So I'll tell you, I'm from an Indian family. I had no clue until the age of 25 or 26. I had no clue about these things. But this text, where did I read this? Sitting in Gainesville, Florida. I read this text sitting in Gainesville, Florida. It didn't register. It took me a few years to understand what is going on in this conversation. And this conversation is just so pertinent to all of us. We may think that this person here, this gentleman Arjuna, he is standing right next to Krishna, he's speaking directly. But the whole conversation is recorded here. So, and the beauty of it is that the conversation is there, the translation has been given to us by our spiritual masters, by our gurus, Srila Prabhupada. So, and along with the purpose, essence, what to take away from it. So this is how, again, getting back to the conversation, this is how it goes. Okay, so now you tell me that there is someone sitting in the heart who is the sanctioner. How do I get to this person? If you were told by someone that this person here can fulfill all your desires, can straighten out everything for you, I bet you would be desperate to find who that person is. And that is the thing, that is the point of yoga, which the conversation next flows into. That how these people who understand this thing, that really we don't have anything to do. All that we can do is strongly desire. You see like some people doing something very well, others cannot do the similar thing. It's a question, we can say it's karma, but it's also that intense desire that we develop. And the sanctioner is sitting there to grant it or to reject it. Okay, that's another mechanics of it. But then Krishna says that yes, there are many ways in which, or there are a few ways in which a person who is eager to know about this sanctioner can achieve him or access him. And that's where he talks about the different process of yoga. So there is a process called the process of knowledge. Just inquiry. I want to find out, I want to know more. how to get to this person. I want to meditate. That's another way, Dhyana Yoga. But Krishna says, okay, fast forward. I'll take it a little forward. All that is good. These people can know me. But the best form of yogi is a person who is trying to achieve the Lord in different ways, in different manifestations, in his different manifestations. Okay, there is an impersonal manifestation. We say God is God is everywhere. Okay, so how is God everywhere? Do you see God everywhere? Can you see God everywhere? Theoretically, we may be able to accept it, but it's hard to fathom that. But there are one kind of yogi who are trying to realize that it's beyond me to even think how that's possible. But what Krishna is telling is that that person, that yogi who's constant, who knows me as I am a person. So God is a person. God has a personal manifestation. Again, taking you back to that picture, you see how that little baby is being tied to the mortar, wooden grinding mortar. That is God. It's sometimes very hard to fathom that why would God, like half semi-naked, be tied to a wooden grinding mortar? Wouldn't he have integrity issues? But that is the Lord. He is free. He is independent. He can do whatever to get the love of his devotees, to give love to his devotees. So that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he says, this is the yogi who is most dear and who is most intimately united with me. So that's in the 6th chapter. Again, we don't necessarily have to think it in chapters, but that is what he's saying. And then he says that, okay, now I've talked about how to get to this person, but do you realize that this person is all in all? That there is really no one beyond this person who can give you anything. So that's where he says that this is a very, very, confidential kind of an understanding which very few people have. That if you look at the material nature, if you look at the living entities, if you look at the fire, air, ether, all those 5 elements, basic elements, they are all coming from me. There is nothing that exists beyond me. Sutra Maniganaiva. There is a verse like that where he says that I am the basis of everything. Everything is in me, but I am not in them. So that's a statement he makes, but essentially what he's saying is that, dudes, where do you want to go? Like, everything is coming from me. I am the source of everything. And one who understands this has just no problem in, surrendering to me, in becoming my devotee. So that's how the conversation is going. And he says that even at the time now, the backdrop of this conversation is this battlefield, right? And there are so many thousands of people who are going to get slain, die on this battlefield. Is anyone here who thinks that we will not die? No one, right? So what happens? So he says that at the time of death, if someone leaves their body thinking of me, they achieve me, they can attain me. So he's going slowly, he's progressing to bring Arjuna to the point of understanding that what does he have to really do? He was so disturbed, and Arjuna is slowly becoming more and more attuned. And he tells him that, how do you do that? He explains the whole process that at the time of death, whatever state, like whatever you're thinking of at the time of death, you're likely to be there in your next life. Because that's how the process of transmigration works. There's a little story where some trader was about to leave his body, and all that he would think of at that point was his granary. So where all the wheat is stored, he would say like, you know what, all you people, don't you have any better thing to do than standing around me? Just go and take care of the granary. There are rats there. And that's how he leaves the body and becomes a rat in the granary in his next life. Okay, a story, but this is a story that illustrates this principle that Krishna is telling. So he says that at the time of death, if you are thinking of me, you are sure to get me. There is no doubt about me. You will attain me without fail. And he says, hence, he tells his friend that, you have nothing to worry. Just remain absorbed in me, remember me, and fight. That is what you are to do here. And he says remembering, so sometimes the question comes that remembering, yeah, we also remember Krishna. Okay, we remember Krishna, but can we remember Krishna constantly? Can we see him in the fabric of our lives all the time? That is the harder thing to do, but it's not an impossible thing to do. That is the point of us coming here together, engaging in this kind of discussion, chanting his holy name, hearing about him. So that is how it goes, and until the point that he goes forward, the conversation is really big, but then he says that okay, now you know that there is no one really beyond me. This is what, so Arjuna asks him that, tell me something more, like, you've told me you're air, ether, everything, but who are your devotees? What do they do? What do they do? And he says that they are always engaged in conversing about me, exchanging, discussions about me, and they just please me all the time. And what I do for them is I just bring them closer and closer with me, closer to me. And I give them the knowledge by which that ignorance that's in our heart, that maybe we are just products of material nature, that ignorance is slowly being destroyed. That's what I do for them. And then he says that, okay, I am the syllable Om, I am the taste of water. This, at the end he says, but Arjuna, what is the use of me telling you so much about myself? Ekam Shinastita Jaga. He says that just by a fragment of myself, I support all this. So there is nothing beyond this. And then he goes on to show his universal form to Arjuna. But all this, why is he doing that? Why did he not do this right in the beginning? That's because he's just like giving Arjuna as much as he wants to take, not thrusting things down his throat. And until the point he comes to the very end of Bhagavad Gita, and he says, the conversation, he says, I have told you everything about me, the most confidential things. And I will tell you one thing, that Arjuna, just do this little bit. Forget about all the processes I've told you, Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, just surrender to me. Krishna is a perfect gentleman. He would not say this in the beginning because he wants his friend and us to be convinced. And he says that just completely surrender to me. Remain absorbed in me. And you do not have to worry about any reaction. You were so worried about sinful reactions because you're going to kill this person, your relatives. You don't worry about it. This is my show. It is really not your show. And then he asks him that, okay, I have told you whatever I have to tell you. Are your doubts clear now? And Arjuna says, yes, I have just absolutely no doubt. And then Arjuna just is at his level best, his A plus game during the battle. So the point here is that there was a time when Arjuna was just so wavering and he was so unsteady. But from that point, he comes to this point when he's like completely immersed, completely absorbed in working for Krishna, in dovetailing his desires for the satisfaction of Krishna. So that is the whole point of talking about this, summarizing Bhagavad Gita. It was a long one. I know we are out of time. It's like, what is there in it for us? We are looking for that constant object of absorption. We are not so happy just by temporarily getting some kick out of spending time doing something we like, just to realize that the next time 5 different things come and you're like again have to digress. So we are getting into this month of Kartik, which is this very auspicious month when very beautiful pastimes happen. And the reason why the Lord makes these pastimes so apparent to us is so that we can get a chance to absorb ourselves. Because what did the Lord say earlier? He said that my activities and pastimes are not of this world. And what happens when we internalize this, when we become like attached to these pastimes, we are able to cross this ocean of birth and death, this material world. And we are more than that. It is not just being like, I want to run away from this world. It's like wherever I am in hell, in heaven, or earth, or in the spiritual world, my Lord, I just want to serve you. I just want to be completely engaged in your service. So this is the time. This is the time when we will, every day we are going to offer simple offering of love to the Lord. We offer ghee lamps, clarified butter. We'll start doing that from next Saturday, and we will also sing that pastime called Damodar Ashtakam. The picture you see there, I keep referring to that pastime, and we'll maybe talk a little bit about that. So that is going to help us go from at least get us a little closer. You know what they say? If the gap is like very huge, just break the problem down into smaller pieces. So that is what's going to help us do that. So please do join us on Saturdays, and we are probably also going to do this virtually. At least singing the bhajan Damodar Ashtakam starting from next Tuesday. Yeah. Okay. So that's hopefully that will help us go from that constant flickering focus to constant absorption. Yeah. So what was the topic again? Yeah, to unwavering absorption. So yeah, I'll stop at that. I'm sorry I did not leave room for questions today. We are out of time. But maybe like
Human manual for the Kali Yuga. So if you have not heard of it, it's about like the best book you can possibly read. If you only read one book ever, read that book.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? So,
Also, it's really short. That is like 90% commentary. The actual Gita is really short. You can read it in a couple hours. So yeah, like you get your commentary afterwards.
Yeah, you read it as a. We've been taught to read this as a book, textbook, but if we can switch gears and look at it as a conversation, we're going to get much more out of it, because that conversation is for us, actually. So, anyways, we'll stop there.
yeah, I had a
We'll say that.
So I had a comment. So when you were talking, I was just meditating on. So I see like this is like I use YouTube very much in my day-to-day life. So in YouTube, I get this advertisement that about Saint Jude, like community
Hospital. Yeah, hospital.
So they show that there are kids getting cancers, and they are just in a very distressful situation. That why this happened, like this is a miracle child, and why this miracle child is suffering.
Yeah.
So this constantly every day that had, but I was just contemplating. Those are the situations and those are the questions which, when we get those questions, we are not able to get satisfactory answers. And how Bhagavad Gita as a manual and how Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is helping us to shift our focus, because all of these problems we feel like mountains, because we feel like that innate identification which we have with this current body. That is the thing which is kind of having us to think those problems and maybe getting much affected by those problems. So Krishna is like how Bhagavad Gita beautifully describes that how we should start seeing ourselves different from our body. So that's the first teaching, and how to shifting our focus from our own self to others. So that's where philanthropical work and helping others, feeding poor, this comes. But ultimately, then focusing on the divine, how that will give us ultimate satisfaction. So that is something beautiful. I appreciate.
Yeah. So that is it's a fact of life that we are never going to have. We don't even know like where we have been previously, what we have done. So nothing comes for free, and we have to pay for everything, our actions. But if we can understand, if we take a step back and not look at it as just a punitive like a punitive repercussion, and try to see what is the lesson for me. It is not that easier said than done. Like my wife is sitting here, she can tell that you're not that wise as you're professing yourself to be, but we are all trying. We are trying to develop. The point of reading these books is not to gain a lot of knowledge for nothing, but to be able to see through these problems. What Abhiram Govind is probably saying is that to develop that vision, to work through them. There are people maybe in this room who have gone through so many challenges in life. Okay, but if this perspective was there, maybe things would have been a little bit more easier. I know of, this is the last thing I'll say, and Subramanian is not here, so no one there to boot us out. So there is one gentleman, I know, another devotee, we do mantra meditation, many of us are aware, the Hare Krishna mantra. So some of us will begin chanting very early in the morning, like 4 o'clock, 4:30. So this gentleman, he's a doctor, a little aged, I would say, maybe in his 60s. He always is there at 4 o'clock to begin chanting virtually. And I got to know that he lost his son. He was that very day, he came back to continue performing his sadhana, his chanting. Now we may say that, oh, this is isn't it? Have you become numb to feelings? Like you don't have any, you don't feel the loss of your own son? It's not that, but that understanding, vision is there. That who was my son anyways? My son was also, just like me, my son was also a part of Krishna. Who is the supremely most, the greatest benefactor, or not benefactor, who's the person who can care the most for my son? The Lord will, right? More than I can, because this person is my son in this lifetime. But what about this soul's journey through other lifetimes? Where is this person going? So that is the vision that he had, and he was using this opportunity to just pray to the Lord for his well-being. So that is what happens when we have that vision. Maybe some, if you're not that strong spiritually, maybe not perspicuous enough, you might just think that, why did it happen with me? I'm so unfortunate. I've been dealt with a bad hand here. You would just keep contemplating like that forever. And what will happen is eventually you will get over it, but you've lost that opportunity to connect with the Lord and pray for this person. I'm just saying, this is just my first-hand experience, but that's the perspective we are trying to develop in life. That really who is there behind everything? What do I really need to do? All that I need to do is surrender to this person. There is nothing that exists outside him. So what will I do by just trying to keep evading him, playing what do you call aapne choli ko kya kehte hain in English? What do you say? The blindfolded, playing hide and seek with him. What is the use? So anyways, we'll stop at that. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, and all glories to the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we'd like to thank Acharya Prabhu for sharing this wonderful knowledge with us by again chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So now we'll switch to the stand-up arati. Before that, I'd like to, I see some new people joined while the class was going on. So, are you coming here for the first time? You're being yeah, I think.
Yeah, I have met in Columbus, India.
Columbus, India.
So last year it was this month was part of it.
This is your first time. What's your name?
Yes, Yogi.
Yes, and this is your friend?
Yeah.
Yeah, same Columbus.
No, he is from India.
Okay.
So you are staying here
About